In recent weeks, there's been increased discussion of the idea of de-dollarization, the idea that the world economy in general and the global system of currency reserves in particular are moving away from their historical reliance on the US dollar. Is this happening? And if so, what impact would the move have on the US economy and on the global economic system more broadly? Hey everyone, I'm Noah Zerbe. I'm a professor of global politics at California State Polytechnic University Humboldt. In this video series, I try to explain the concepts and theories behind current events, generally in 2 minutes or less. There are a number of recent events that point towards a shift away from reliance on the US dollar. The weaponization of the dollar exchange system, efforts by the US government to control the use of the dollar to economically isolate Russia following its invasion of Ukraine earlier this year, raised concerns that other countries may view this as a potential threat and attempt to diversify their trade and foreign reserve holdings. There was already some move to diversify foreign exchange holdings and reserves. A number of countries have expressed interest in divesting a portion of their US dollar-denominated reserves and diversify their holdings into other major international currencies, including euros, Japanese yen, Chinese renminbi, British pounds, and others. However, progress towards this has been slow at best. While the percent of global reserves held in dollars has declined over the past 20 years, dollars still represent almost 60% of global reserves, with the next closest country, or next closest currency, the euro, representing only about 21% of reserves, and other currencies comprising much less than that. There has been discussion of efforts by countries to move away from US dollars in trade. This includes efforts by Russia to shift trade with China away from dollars and towards other currencies, and potential new agreements, for example, between Saudi Arabia and China to price oil in renminbi rather than dollars, a potential move away from the historical petrodollar system. Again, though, the move to diversify trade away from dollars has been slow. Nearly 90% of the $6.6 trillion traded every day on foreign exchange markets still involves US dollars. Similarly, the dollar still represents about 40% of all transactions occurring through the SWIFT global banking transfer system, as compared to 37% for the euro and just 3% for the renminbi. Finally, some observers have pointed to the threat of a U.S. default on its debt, a concern that has emerged more frequently in recent years as Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. Congress each attempt to frame the domestic debate over U.S. debt as a problem created by the other side. But interestingly, despite regular standoffs over the issue, the U.S. has yet to default, and demand for U.S. dollar-denominated bonds appears to remain relatively steady, suggesting most countries continue to view the dollar as a comparatively safe investment. In the longer term, no country's currency can remain dominant forever. The British pound was the global reserve currency in the 19th century and into the first half of the 20th century, but the pound eventually gave way to the US dollar. In a similar vein, it would be foolish to believe that the dollar would continue to last in its dominant position forever. But in the shorter term, there is, I think, no really viable or widely accepted alternative to replace the dollar. Even if there is interest in moving away from the global reserve and trade system rooted in the US dollar, it's not clear that there is a viable and widely accepted alternative to replace it. China's capital controls insulate the domestic economy from broader global pressures, but also undermine its ability or the possibility of the renminbi to replace the US dollar on a global scale. This is reflected, I think, in the fact that Chinese currency represents only about 2.7% of global reserve currencies, trailing not just the US dollar, but also the euro, the yen, and the pound. The euro remains the second most widely held reserve currency, but historical and in many ways ongoing Eurozone crises apparently remain etched in the minds of investors and prevent the euro from becoming that dominant global reserve currency. Gold is too impractical, cryptocurrencies are too unstable in their value, and as a result, there's just really not a good alternative to the US dollar, at least for the foreseeable future. That's it for now. If you found this helpful, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to catch future explainers when they're released. feel free to check out my other videos on this topic, which I'll link to in the description below. Leave any questions for this video or any suggestions for future explainers in the comment section below. And thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.